This is The Red Lens.
We have a famed pickup artist and instructor that I actually have been in contact with, and he's been gracious enough to come on tonight and talk about himself and talk about some of the things he's got going on.
Great.
So how are you doing tonight, Gary?
Good. Are we on the air?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I got you queued up and ready to go. And again, I should tell everybody that this is Gary P. from the gotpickup.com website. And Gary, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Basically, how long have you been involved in instructing the game and pickup artistry and having guys be successful or teaching them how to be successful?
Well, let's see. I've been running game for over 10 years. And, I started by reading The Game, the Neil Strauss book. That was back in 2005. Other people like Mystery. And then I decided to curate a website because I realized that a lot of these gurus, they had different techniques. And some of the techniques worked well for me and others didn't work so well. So I decided to take the ones that work best for me or most congruent with my personality. And then I started collecting my favorite videos on YouTube. And I put together Got Pickup back in 2015. And I developed quite a following on Twitter where I post tips to players hourly on Got Pickup.
Well, that's great. And I've actually seen that website, Franklin, and it is chock full of information. A lot of things that I personally didn't even know about, even in my younger years growing up and stuff I wish I knew. So if anybody out there really is looking for a tremendous resource, definitely get over to gotpickup.com. Now, Gary, one of the other things I was actually very interested in finding out from you is what have you always lived in California, and do you feel that practicing the game and the pickup techniques, is that different from state to state or even countries? Do women react differently?
Yes, definitely. Well, there's definitely, I've lived most of my life in California, but I've traveled throughout Central, South America, and Asia as well. And I've definitely noticed a difference in between people of different, culture is a huge factor, as well as, the level of feminism obviously has a big impact on how it is that women respond to you when you talk to them. Strangers especially. And I've noticed that women, particularly they're drawn to different accents, different personalities. They like novelty. And so if you are, as they say, a fish from another pond, women are drawn to you naturally, kind of how Americans, immediately respect someone with a British accent. It's kind of similar like that throughout the world.
Sure.
So it makes running games so much easier. If you're a foreigner, women usually let down their guard in an effort to help you navigate what is familiar to them. So the way you would help like a lost puppy, for example, I found that it's true and more so in big cities, not so much in rural communities where people tend to like fear outsiders. Again, these are generalizations. There's always exceptions.
Sure.
Also, if you're in a third world country, they automatically assume that you have money if you're from a developed country. And, the hypergamous nature of women will bring you much opportunity. But, of course, you have to be careful of the pitfalls, women trying to get pregnant with your kid in order to get a fast track out of their condition.
And I've heard the stories of that. Franklin, have you had success being the foreign man in a country when you've gone over to Japan?
I've done well. I've done okay. Had a really nice girl for about 3.5, 4 years. The thing of it is the distance got to be too much. Well, first of all, Gary, thanks for joining us in the show, and I'm glad you're with us. Didn't mean to be rude, but I did okay. I did well. One thing I will say though, he was
Sorry,
right about being.
Yeah, he was just Frank was just throwing you a compliment there.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay, but yeah, I was saying that in Japan I did well, and Iceland. You were saying if you're from a country that's not people aren't used to going there. I did really well in Iceland actually.
Ah, well, there you go. Now, Gary, how many guys have you coached, and have you ever met a guy who you just come across and you're like, geez, he's not getting it, he's hopeless, and this dude's just he's not going to get laid no matter where he's going.
Yes, actually, I've come across many people like that. I've coached hundreds of guys. People DM me all the time on Twitter every day. I have close to 10,000 followers, and I've coached guys from, young guys trying to get a girlfriend, to divorced guys trying to get back into the game, to guys who are trying to manage their rotation of girls. And yeah, the biggest problem guys are guys who they're what we call blue pill, which means they have these romantic ideals of women that they've picked up, since childhood, and they've been kind of brainwashed through movies. We call it the Disney syndrome, right? These princesses
Sure.
that Disney portrays these stereotypes of princesses and princes, white knights and whatnot. And so these guys, they pedestalize women. That's their biggest problem. They don't see women as equals. They see them as these higher than thou entities that they have to bow down to and beg for any kind of attention. And these are guys they're really hard to deprogram, because they first have to go through what we call red pill awareness. And there are authors that I recommend like Rollo Tomassi, who writes The Rational Male.
Sure.
He has it's probably the best book out there right now on red pill.
Yeah.
It helps you learn about the true nature of women, not these pie in the sky, dreams that guys have.
Yeah, absolutely, and I concur 100%. The information that he delves out there in his books and whatnot is second to none, and we've had him on the program as well. Absolutely. Actually, speaking of different mediums and things like that, I remember back in the day, actually, it had to be almost 10 years ago, VH1 or MTV had a show that it was almost a reality-based thing where they took a bunch of guys and they threw them out there, kind of put them. I don't know if it was staged. It might have been staged where they were trying to get them dates, and they changed their whole dress and whatnot. I mean, do you think that depiction helps or hurts the the persona of PUA and legitimate guys like yourself that are trying to really help guys out?
Yeah, well, there were some good points to that show. I remember it was called, I think it was called The Pickup Artist, and they had another
That's
one
right.
called, I forget the other one, but Mystery was on one of them. And yeah, it was a good show. There are some techniques that, that the media likes to blow out of proportion or kind of exaggerate things like the concept of negging, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you give a girl an underhand compliment, right? You say something nice, but then there's like a little dig in there, a little tease to make her question her ego, in a sense. And so, the media took that and ran with it and said, this is basically the concept. The concept is this: your shoes. And they ran with that. And guys were like, and people were, up in arms. And women came out and said, like, this is terrible. They're insulting women, and the feminists. Actually, the feminism is the biggest what I would say the biggest
hurdle.
haters of game.
Mm-hmm. And what's funny about that too, you bring that up. You know, it's okay though when they're over there poking fun at and saying that Jason Momoa, who's on vacation with his family, doesn't look right. You know, that's okay.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Or you know, you're not allowed to comment on a woman's weight, but women can have these like height and wealth requirements of men.
Oh, of course, right? Yeah, that whole provisioning thing. You know, we kind of talked about the whole. We touched base on the book stuff with Neil Strauss and the game and that material. And as you said before, you really feel that is the, you know, origin and backbone of where all this originated from, correct?
Yes, there are some earlier pioneers like Ross Jeffries and another guy that I used to follow. His name is Ray Gordon. But yeah, as far as reaching the mainstream, the game was the book that did it. And I've followed a few other pickup artists who kind of have their own take on a lot of the techniques that were first pioneered by Mystery. But yeah, those were the true pioneers.
And I remember reading somewhere too, in terms of I think it was Mystery, that he eventually did get into a relationship, and he had a really tough time after that one broke off. You know, he kind of almost developed a little bit of that one-itis. So.
Yes, exactly, and that's part of what a lot of the community feels about Mystery, is that even though, you know, he was a master of the techniques, he never really delved into red pill, and so he's in fact still not red pilled to this day, and that's what causes a lot of his depressions. Is the illusion, you know, because basically what red pill says is this. I mean, I don't want to mischaracterize the great work of Rollo Tomassi, but basically red pill is this notion that men and women have different definitions of love, right? And we don't love each other. We don't love each other in the same way, and that's very hard for a lot of guys to accept, you know, because especially guys that have this idea of like, there's a soulmate and there's a one person for me, and this whole idea. And so, and the idea is that men love idealistically and women love opportunistically, right? Women love you as long as you are providing certain things for them. So the love is conditional from a woman, whereas it's not for a man, you know, in a romantic view of love.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why men are the true romantics. You know, women, all these movies and these rom-coms, they show women as the true romantics, but in fact, it's the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah. And in many of the cases, the guys they portray in those romantic comedies are buffoons, you know, and they don't even, you know, they're overweight and they're just saps. So, but yet the woman is like gorgeous. You know, she's one of the, you know, she looks like what was her name, Maureen McCormick or something like that. You know, they're blonde haired, blue eyed, and they're amazing. So.
Yes. Now there are conspiracy theories as to why the media wants to portray these narratives. You know, what do they hope to gain? Is this some type of social engineering that keeps guys subdued and whatnot? But that's a whole nother topic. There is a lot of fake news in the media that panders to our blue pill society. For example, one of the current trends is to report how millennials are having less sex than their grandparents, right?
I've actually heard that.
But they make no distinction between males and females. And they blame things like porn and video games, right? Now, although the overall statistic may be true, the breakdown by gender would reveal an interesting phenomenon that they refuse to discuss because it might upset both the feminists and it's a threat to traditional family values. And that is what is happening as a result of online dating. As a result of online dating, women have a lot more access to men that they normally would not have access to, right? And also, women are the gatekeepers of sex. So women decide who and when they're going to have sex. And men, we play this game to try to make our odds better. but basically, women are hypergamous by nature, and so they are trying to mate with the highest value man that they can find. And dating apps have given them that access, or what they perceive to be that access, which is why they're holding back on regular guys who used to get laid. They don't anymore because these women, it's the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of the men are getting laid by 80% of the women.
Yeah.
And so basically they've created an open channel for hypergamy, right? Any unattractive girl can get laid at a local bar, but they only have access to men in their general vicinity if they work that way. However, once they go on Tinder, they now you have phenomenons that didn't exist in the past. You have like Dan Bilzerian, the guy that has a harem. You know, when did you see that in the past? You only saw it with like Saudi sheiks and maybe Hugh Hefner.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. And you know, we talk about that. We talk about the plethora of choices that they have, but yet conversely, the guys also have to deal with these other phenomenons out there that are social engineered in terms of like the Me Too stuff, where you can't even approach a girl now, or give them a whistle. Like a lot of times the character is the girl walks by the construction site and the guys are like, "Hey, honey, you're looking good," and then now she could turn around and in some countries report them to the cops and they get arrested.
You try that now and see what happens.
Right. I heard that's the case in Argentina, actually.
Yeah.
And I mean, guys have to be very careful about how they speak to women, which is why now game is more important than ever before. Guys have to learn things about, like how to communicate in innuendos and how to have plausible deniability, so they can have double meaning in everything they say, so that if a woman is offended, they can easily back out of it and, unscathed. And so these are all techniques that, by the way, I have an app called the Got Pickup Lines app, which has a bunch of innuendos in it for guys to use when they're talking to women, so that they can have this plausible deniability.
And they can find that at the gotpickup.com website as well?
Yeah, that one is gotpickuplines.com.
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
But yeah, there are links.
See, Gary's so good that he has two websites, Franklin.
I see that. I'm curious, if I may.
I can't hear Franklin for some reason. I can only hear you.
Oh, really? You see, Franklin, for some reason he can't hear you.
Oh no.
But what did you want to say, Franklin?
If you could relay to him, I'm curious to find out in the Me Too movement. We've sort of kind of touched on this before, but is that as strong that is the Me Too movement as strong in other parts of the world than it is here in the States?
All right, Gary. He basically asked, is the Me Too whole phenomenon the same as it is in here versus other areas of the world that you've read or you visited?
Well, I have not been there in these other areas of the world. I do hear from my Twitter followers that yes, it is catching on throughout Europe.
Oh boy.
Not so much in Asia, where they have a very strong patriarchal society, but definitely in Europe, in Spain and France and these other countries. Yes, the Me Too movement is definitely there.
And speaking of places,
not as strong as it is.
What'd you say?
It is here in the United States.
Oh yeah.
It's not as strong as it is here in the United States. The feminists are not as riled up, and they don't have as free reign as they do here.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, it's catching on.
And speaking of places, in your opinion, what are some of the best places for guys to go out and meet girls, and what are some of the ones you just say don't even be bothered with it?
Oh well, let's see. If you're in the 18 to 24 year range, colleges have the prime pickings. And actually, I wrote an article on Got Pickup on how to run college game, even if you're not a student. Ooh. So I call it fall college game.
And I bet you got to be very careful with even running game on college, because again, that's a heightened area for false rape accusations, things like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I also wrote an article on how to avoid false rape accusations.
Oh, there you go.
Which is also on that pickup. But yes, definitely. However, college is great because especially now in the United States, there are more women enrolled in colleges than guys. And women are in this age range, they're in the most experimental, as they call them, the party years of their lives. So they're discovering their sexuality, and it's great for guys. I mean,
that's what I like to hear, Franklin. I like to hear about self-discovery.
So in the United States, there's a lot of ageism. So once you're out of their little social age range, it's very difficult to get with these girls because they're very much into social circle. So once you are, past 25, my favorite is tourist game, because if you live in a tourist city or near a tourist town, the tourists are great because they're very open-minded. They're looking for adventure. Usually single women they have a hotel, which is also great, a hotel room, and you can show them the sights. If you know the area better than they do, it's a great way to meet women. They're very open to conversations with the locals because they want to meet locals. Tourists, that's one of their main objectives, is to interact with people.
That's great. Now, what this is actually one of the ones that I really wanted to ask you. What do you say to the critics out there that say, well, PUA is just really, they're short-sighted, and they can kind of get you in the door. They can get you to, talk to that 8 or 9. But once you're even done with the first night, they have no plan on going forward. What do you have to say to people that kind of throw that, kind of curveball at you?
Yeah, well, people are into game for different reasons. Some people like to play it like a sport. They keep leg counts and whatnot, and other people are trying it to find their long-term relationship, their love of their life. And some people, unfortunately, are into it to get some type of validation. And unfortunately, these guys need therapy more than they need game, because they have inferiority complexes, basically. But yeah, I'm not relationship maintenance is a whole nother topic, and there are guys that are much more qualified than myself who would better address that. There's relationship counselors, and
right.
They actually have guys now who talk about relationship game. And if you follow Rollo Tomasi, he talks about how to maintain a marriage where it's not a sexless marriage, right? That's a big thing that guys complain about, is that their wife no longer wants to have sex. And so, yeah, I don't really cover those topics or how to maintain your relationship, because I'm mostly into getting guys, helping them get their foot in the door and stay wet.
I hear you, and I'm right on the same page as you. I think a lot of people don't understand that what you deal with, and some of the other gentlemen that do what you do, you are almost you are localized in what you're dealing with. You're not really focusing on or really caring about what happens down the line. The people that are coming to you for that initial success, and I think that's what's being missed.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I am not a matchmaker. I'm not a love guru or anything like that, or relationship counselor.
Now, what do you think the future of your field and the whole technique-based PUA environment is?
Well, I think the best thing that's happened to PUA is the mindset change that's happened, where it's now a marriage between techniques and red pill mindset, basically awareness about the nature of women. So once you understand female psychology and you combine that with the techniques, pioneered by Mystery and others, it's stronger. It's more effective than ever. And also, it's going to help you navigate the pitfalls of Me Too and hardcore feminism. See, one of the problems with feminism is that they haven't been able to distinguished themselves. For example, they haven't been able to separate themselves. You know, the moderate feminists from the extreme feminists. I mean, basically, feminists are like, you're either for women or you're not. And so you've got these extremists that have taken over the movement, and you know, they want things like being able to talk to women. They want to call that street harassment, and you know, make it a crime, when it's really, you know, that's just an expression of your First Amendment right. You know, the minute you can't talk to someone on the street, I mean, where are we as a society? What are you going to, like, ban the homeless guy for asking for change? Like, ridiculous. And the other thing that's ridiculous is the Believe Her movement. You know, this is like, can you imagine if there was a movement that said, okay, if you witness a murder, the police should automatically believe you, that you point out the murderer, and that's it, case closed. You know, the assumption should be that yes, the murderer is the person who you witnessed. That would be ridiculous, you know? It violates the whole innocence until proven guilty theory in our Constitution.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. And you actually, we've seen that illustrated with the Supreme Court justice. He got ran through the mud, and actually just as early as last week, somebody tried to come out again and say, oh, well, you know, in high school, I think I remember him doing something else, inappropriate touching or something. And it was just, you know, again, that's a prime example of it right there.
Yeah. Yeah, some things have to change because, you know, even though, you know, you do have the assumption of innocence in rape cases in this country, basically, there is no punishment for anyone who brings false rape allegations against you, right? If it's determined that it was a lie or that she had ulterior motives, and, you know, what happens? She gets a slap on the wrist, basically, you know, if anything. But the guy's life is already ruined. We've seen countless, you know, in the court of public opinion, which is social media, guys have had their careers ruined, and later to be exonerated, you know, to find out that no, this person, but it's too late. Too late. They've already lost everything.
Yeah, it's, you know? It is. That's a sad testament to what we're going through right now, and hopefully, in strides with the law and some adjustments, we can get to some more normalcy. You know, what do you think about that, Franklin?
Yeah,
you're a lot. Well, you hear a lot about that, actually. If I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember exactly who it was. To think of it, I think it was a sports figure. Once this goes through, the person's reputation is tarnished, can't get a job, or depending on what your field is, you might not be able to get a job again. And from what I understand, it's done like that. So, Chris, my audio good to you tonight?
Yeah, Franklin, I can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Right.
But for the most part, it's, you know, it's done like that, sadly, to prevent people from not reporting issues, if you will, which is not fair at all.
No, absolutely. But Gary, I know you're extremely busy, and I want to again thank you extremely.
Sure, Chris.
And everybody out there, if you're getting stuck on meeting people out there, or you just want some better information and you want to learn it from somebody that knows what they're talking about, get yourself over to gotpickup.com and reach out to Gary right now. Okay. And Gary, again, I want to just say thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I wanted to make one more point before I leave, and that is that although some things have changed a lot in pickup, and with the rise of Me Too and feminism and equality, gender equality, some things have not changed. And one of those things is the idea of hypergamy, that women are always looking to marry or date up, right? They want men of higher value than themselves. That has not changed. And the direct proof of that is, 50 years ago, it was very common for a doctor, for example, to date and marry a nurse or his administrative assistant, someone who was lower ranking than himself. Okay, fast forward to 2019, you have women doctors. How many women doctors are willing to do the same? I challenge you to find one.
That's an extremely good point.
Good point.
Yes. Now you do have a few exceptions. Maybe Britney Spears. But I would question whether their mental state. Most women they only go one way, unless they've got some kind of issues going on in their lives.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for having me on your show, and I hope to talk to you soon in the future.
Absolutely.